Hi guys, it's Amy and you have found Amy Loves Crochet. Thank you so much for your time. I really sincerely appreciate you guys. So the blanket that I have to share with you today is out of my stitch book. And in case you have not seen it recently, here is what that looks like. I share all my trials and tribulations of checking out these different stitches to see if I like them, and I share with you what I've created. So if you're interested in finding this book on your own, I've seen it online at lots of different used bookstores and things like that. So it's really very inexpensive. But the pattern I wanted to share with you today is called Shells Upon Shells. And this is another one that really did not turn out like looking like in real life as it does in the picture. So here is what that looks like. And if your eye is like my eye, that looks really, really flat to you. I don't see, now see, I'm kind of holding it at a funny angle, but now that I'm looking at it with you, I mean, maybe you can see a little bit of some ridges, but I wanted to share with you how absolutely textured this is. And I don't know if it's going to flatten out over time, but bam. Okay. This is done with Ogos. You know, me and I love my Ogos. I used 4 Ogos in the mint julep color, and I've got quite a bit left. There's 210 grams left, but I wanted to share with you as well how different the colors appeared to me to be. So I don't know if this is going to work. So here's the greens. You can't really see. This one's really kind of washed out. This one's super dark. This one's kind of a different green altogether. Man, okay, so they do have, I'm dropping everything. They do have, okay, so what I did was I color controlled. And you know Amy never color controls on these Ogos or on most color changing skeins or cakes. I work with what I'm given. So like I'm not going to take the time to, you know, color control all it. I'm lazy. I don't want to sew in all those ends. So I am definitely not one to color control, but I did with this one because I have shown you guys so many blankets recently that are not color controlled and they change color in the middle of a row. And I know that kind of bugs some people. So I did this one specifically the way that I did it. I really wanted to make it look very nice. Kind of that same feel that I was talking about when I made my Hexa cardigan, that I didn't want it like silly color changing ways. I like wanted it to look a little nicer. I don't know what words I'm trying to use there, but I cannot say how much I love the colorway as it's playing out. Now see, here's the first set. This was one Ogo, the first Ogo that I used, and you can see, so there's 5 different colors. And what I was finding was this second color here was super pretty and super different than the 2 blues that are next to it. But in later skeins like this one, you can barely tell the difference between those two. This one here is a lot lighter. You can see down here how much darker it is. That second row to that second row. Those don't look like the same to me. So I was a little bit frustrated because the other thing that I wanted to do with this blanket is work these 2 skeins or donuts, whatever you want to call them. And then I was going to start with the green and work backwards so that each of the end was the same as each other. So it would go in, you know, and then go out the same. But the 2 different greens next to each other were so, maybe I'm not holding the right one, but were so different next to each other. The camera is not picking it up at all. In person, you can really see the difference in those greens and specifically that other blue. The first blue tends to be really the same through the 4 different Ogos. And then so that's the first blue, and then the second blue, and then this third blue tended to be the same across the board. And then the light green was exactly the same, but then the dark green is where I was noticing a lot of the differences. So I don't know if it's the darker color that they're trying to add more pigment to, that it doesn't come out the same, or what the deal was. But this turned out to be about 42 by 42. I didn't mean for it to be a square necessarily, but I got lucky with that. I am not going to do a border. I thought about it because I've got enough of the leftovers. I've got 210, I said, and each one started as 280 grams. So if you weren't color controlling, you could almost get to this with 3 of the Ogos and a 5mm hook. It is 100% acrylic, and each one of these, like I said, is 280 grams. 5mm hook, 4 worsted weight, and pretty much the same washing instructions, the care instructions: no iron, no bleach, cool water, that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed this. Shells on top of shells, and the way that so what you're doing is these shells, look me upside down as my way is. What is up with that? So you can see these middle shells have 5 double crochets, and then the puffy one has 2 double crochets, and then 3 treble crochets, and then 2 double crochets. So in addition to having extra stitches, you've got some taller stitches in there, and that's what helps make it like pop out like that. So immediately you know that texture is there. Immediately you can feel that. It's beautiful. And I just really liked the size of the blanket. I can't back up very much. It's like a good throw. Like, you know, it's longer than a lap blanket. You can get a little buddy in here with you. It's not going to be full length for anybody's bed or anything like that. You can't tuck your toes in at the bottom unless you're curled up like a little ball. But I just thought that this was such an amazing stitch, and I wanted to share it with you. All right, here's a look at the pattern that we are going to work on today, shells upon shells. And this is what it looks like in the solid color yarn. So I'm going to be using this remnant from my Ogo, and I've got our standard tools of the trade here. I'm going to move to the side. So the multiple for this pattern is going to be a multiple of 6 plus 2. So go ahead and put a slip knot on your hook and chain out as many as you'd like your project to be wide in multiples of 6, and then add 2 on at the end, and I will meet you back here. All right, I've got 18 chains on my hook, and I'm going to add my extra 2. And then our first row is going to be a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So I'm going to go into that second chain and do a single crochet, and in each one across. Oops. So when you get to the end of your first row, you should have all single crochets. And I will meet you back when we get to the end. Okay, so I chained 18 for my multiples of 6, and then I added my plus 2 at the end. And then we do a single crochet in the second chain from the hook and all the way across. So now I've got 19 single crochets. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to do a single crochet in that same first stitch. And then we're going to skip 2 stitches. So here's 1, 2. And in this next one, we're going to do a shell. So that's going to consist of 2 double crochets. And then we're going to do 3 treble crochets. So that's wrap your yarn twice and go in just like you're working a double crochet. You pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. We need 3 of those. So here's our second treble. Pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and our third. 2, 2, 2. And then we need 2 more double crochets in there. So squish that guy down there, and then you'll see, whoops, you'll see almost right away the way that putting the double crochets and the treble crochets together kind of give us this little, you know, kind of like a bobbly looking thing, but not really. Okay, so then we're going to skip 2, and you want to make sure you're working in the right stitch. So here's where we worked into that one. So we're going to skip 2, this one and this one. And then into this one here, we're going to do 1 single crochet, and that helps to anchor the work down. So then we're going to skip another 2 stitches, and we're going to do another shell. So we've got 2 double crochets, 3 treble crochets. So wrap that yarn twice, and then pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. We need 3 of those. These are always fun to do because they work up so quickly. Okay, and then another 2 double crochets in that same space to complete our shell. And that's how we get going. So you're going to skip another 2 stitches and do a single crochet to anchor that down. Oops. We're going to skip another 2 stitches and do a shell. So we've got 2 double crochets. We've got 3 treble crochets. And then we've got our third one here. And then 2 more double crochets in that same hole, that same space. So we've got this great big beautiful shell. Okay. And then you should have 3 stitches left. We're going to skip 2 and do a single crochet in that final stitch. Get in there. Nope. One more time. There we go. All right. So there you go with your first row of shells. So what we're going to do next is a chain 3, and that's going to count as a double crochet on the next round. And what we want to do in that very first stitch is do 2 double crochets. So this will be like a half a shell of being, 3 double crochets on the edge. Anytime you're doing a shell row, anytime you're doing a shell pattern, the edge always needs kind of like a half a shell. So that'll be the edge of your blanket there. And so you're going to count over 2 double crochets and 1 treble crochet. So in the center of that whole big shell, we're going to put a single crochet up here, to anchor that down. And then in the single crochet of the row below, so you should have 1 more treble and then 2 doubles to finish that shell. We're going to skip all of that and jump over to this single crochet from the row beneath, and we're going to do 5 double crochets. So yarn over and go through. We know how to do our double crochets, and that's going to fill in the center between the 2 big giant shells. Shell patterns depend on the project that you're working for, what constitutes a shell. It could be a 3 DC shell, it could be a 5 DC shell. In this case, it could be some DCs and some trebles that make the shell. But that is where you should be now. You've got 5 double crochets down in that single crochet in between the two big fat shells. And then we're going to anchor to the top of this one again. And that goes in the middle of the trebles. So you should have 2 double crochets here and 1 treble crochet here. And then in that big center one there, we're going to do that single crochet in the top of him. And then we're going to skip the rest of the shell here and come right on down to that single crochet in the center and do 5 double crochets in that one spot. 3, 4, and 5. So then we're going to find the center of the treble, and I still count no matter, I worked on that big full blanket, and I still always counted because you're never quite sure, you don't want to be off on trying to center something and not get it right. So first 2 doubles, first treble, we want that middle treble, single crochet. And then we're at the end of the row. You do that all the way across, all the way, no matter how many of the great big shells you did. You've got a 5 double crochet shell in between those that are placed into that single crochet. And then when you end, you're going to need another 3 doubles, just like you started with 3 double crochets, kind of like a half shell. You need 3 double crochets in that final stitch there. Whoops. 1, 2, and 3. So that is the pattern. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and then you're going to do a single crochet in that same spot, And then you've got the single crochet from before. So if this was your first double crochet, you've got 2 more double crochets to pass, to skip over. And here's our single that went in between. That's who's going to get the big fat shell again. So we're doing 2 double crochets in that spot, and then 3 trebles. Whoops. So wrap your yarn twice, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. We need 3 of those. So here's my second. Whoops. And here's my third. And then 1, 2, here's the middle of our 5 double crochets. We're going to do a single crochet just in the center one, in the middle of those 5. And then we've got 2 more doubles. We're going to skip over those and go to the single crochet that's in the center, and he's going to get that big fat shell again. 2 double crochets, 3 treble crochets, and then 2 more double crochets, all in that same spot. So go ahead and continue working that across the row, and I will meet you at the end. So when you get to the end of that row, you're going to end with a single crochet in that very last stitch. And then you are going to repeat the next row one more time. So we're going to chain 3, come around, do 2 doubles in that same spot. And this will be our double crochet row. So then you're going to go to the middle of this stack. You've got your 2 doubles, go to the middle treble, 1, 2, 3, oops, 1, 2, 3, go to the middle treble and do your single crochet, and then start your 5 double crochets down in that single crochet row again. And this is the end. This is the row that you want to end on. When you end on this double crochet row, the top of the blanket is a lot more close together. See how this one pretty much goes straight across? If you end on one of these, your dip down to this is far too low. So then you would need to fill in the top row with something else if you wanted to even off that, even off the blanket. If you don't, if you want the end to be top and scallopy like that, then by all means, go right ahead and do that. But if you want the blanket to be squared off and match the top to the bottom, then you want to end on a row that's got your 5 double crochets here. And then the end pieces have 3 double crochets. And that's it. You can color change when you want to, or you don't have to. I'll show you what it looks like in a variegated. Here's what I worked up in the variegated. This one is using the same pattern of the 2 double crochets, 3 treble crochets, and then 2 double crochets in between. You can see sometimes when you use a variegated yarn, you'll lose some of the pattern, but I don't think that there's any harm in doing this pattern in the variegated yarn. I think it looks really nice. And if you don't want to do treble crochets, if that's not your jam, then here is what it can look like if you just do double crochets through the whole pattern. So we still did 7. I still did 7 double crochets in the first row and 5 double crochets here, which still makes it pop out just a little bit. Not quite as much as the treble crochets, but you do still get some texture. You can see here. So you don't have to do the treble crochets if you don't want to. You can do doubles, but putting 7 in the alternating row gives you that little puff out a little bit. So you still can get some texture without doing the treble crochets. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Let me know if you try out this stitch. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for sitting with me today. I really hope you enjoyed this stitch. It was a lot of fun for me. I love the texture of, the feel of the blanket, and I really hope that those are not going to flatten out over time. So have a wonderfully blessed day. Please come back and see me again. Thank you. Bye-bye.